McClay. Chief McClay is probably going to be the one speaking. And right now, I'm just going to give you a few little background on Chief McClay based on his bio. He's been in the Pittsburgh Police Chief since September 15, 2014. He was formerly a consultant for the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the captain of the Madison Police Department in Wisconsin. As captain, Chief McClay has last served as a district commander and was responsible for overseeing all aspects of police operations. He specialized in managing police community relations and leadership development. He served as a lieutenant from 2002 to 2005, serving as a shift commander, district patrol operations commander, and a SWAT tactical team commander. As a sergeant from 1995 to 2002, McClay worked with narcotics and gang units. As a patrol officer, McClay became a full-time training officer. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up Chief McClay, and he will be followed by Ted Johnson, who is, again, president of Noble. Okay? Thank you. Chief McClay.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'll keep my comments brief because there's some really important conversations we want to have about police, your interaction with police, and how we keep those safe and respectful. Okay. By way of introduction, though, I just want to tell you a couple of things about who I am and why it is that I'm here. When I came, I was really tasked with a number of challenges, but you package them up just right, it really boils down to three. Number one, I had to restore the relationship between the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police and the communities that we serve, particularly our communities of color. There was a divide that was harming both the communities and the police bureau. An important priority for me to fix that. Number two, I have to reduce the violence that's causing such incredible harm to our communities of color here in Pittsburgh. And number three, I have to improve the diversity of my police department. Citizens living in a free society have a reasonable expectation to see themselves reflected back in their police department. So those are my three biggest challenges, and I'd argue they're all interrelated with one another. I have to restore the relationship between our police bureau and our communities of color. We, the police, are simply a reflection of and part of the communities that we serve. We don't stand alone. We are not separate. We are a community. We're simply those elements of the community who are paid to do what is every citizen's responsibility, and that's to deal with crime and disorder in the community. So we're not separate. We're not different, and we need to bring ourselves together, because without doing so, we'll never be able to accomplish objectives 2 and 3. The violence that's plaguing our community right now is the weapon violence, the retaliatory pattern of violence between groups in conflict with one another. You notice I'm not calling them gangs, okay? Groups in conflict with one another. So much of the violence is about disrespect. It's about foolishness that has absolutely nothing to do with serious criminal enterprise. Is it wrapped around the peripheral criminality? Absolutely it is. But we've got a disease. Okay? This is a public health crisis within our community, in my opinion. And the reason why I say restoring the relationship with our community is so vital, because police absolutely, positively cannot arrest our way out of this crime problem. Okay? We absolutely cannot. People in the neighborhood know who the shooters are, right? Think about people in your neighborhood. A lot of people know. In any given neighborhood, those driving the violence are about 0.3 to 0.5% of the population are driving that disproportional violence, and people in the neighborhood know who those are. My officers know who a lot of them are. The problem is, because we're not working together, we're not able to resolve the violence. We're only going to be able to resolve the violence when the community as a whole stands up, stands side by side with the police, and looks at that 0.5% and says, we love you, we care about you, we don't want to see you end up dead, we don't want to see you end up in prison, but we've had it. We will not tolerate the violence. Enough is enough, and it stops today. When police and community stand up together and look at those individuals and try to help them make better life choices, we can take this community back. We absolutely can do that. I'm excited about the potential here in Pittsburgh because I think we're on the dawn of doing something really great. This event here is an example of just that kind of community coming together, talking about how we're going to work together. My greatest challenge now is step number three rather. How can I improve the diversity of my police bureau? Okay. How many of you young people here in the room, if I say the words Pittsburgh Police, get a picture in your mind? Okay, now let me ask, put your hands up high, How many of you have an impression about what that means? Okay, now, if that's a really positive picture, keep your hand up. Okay, a few hands, all right, we're not doing that bad. I won't be happy until all those hands stand up, because I absolutely firmly believe that the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police needs you. We want you, and we will be much, much, much better when you join our ranks. So you young people, as you're trying to decide what you want to do, ask yourself, do you want to give back to your community? Do you want to serve? And give some thought to joining us in policing. Now, having my commercials over, now let's talk about the hard conversation. How do we keep ourselves, keep the officers safe in these street interactions? I'm going to say a few words about the background, and I'm going to ask Commander Holmes to follow along with me. There's a lot going on when officers and young people of color meet on the street, particularly at night, particularly in some of our more dangerous neighborhoods. Officers, all across this country, officers say, I lay my life on the line every day to serve the community. And that's largely speculative in most communities. That's not speculative here, it's real. Since 2009, we've had 3 officers killed, 1 shot and paralyzed for life, multiple shot, wounded, and they were able to recover, and even more shot at. So it's like a real thing, okay? So when officers begin an interaction, at times the stress level is extremely high. The perception of stress is very high on both sides. Is it stressful to interact with the cops? Yeah, I'm here to tell you. My blood pressure goes up and my chest goes like this when there's a squad car in my rearview mirror. Okay, it's a thing. All right, it's not just you. Okay, it's a thing. So when you bring two individuals together in a context where both are stressed, this is a volatile situation. And when we're under high levels of stress, sometimes we don't think well. We don't make good decisions because the wrong part of our brain is driving our decision making. So that's the volatile cocktail that happens when officers and young people come together in a context, particularly where there's suspicion of criminal conduct. Okay, so it paves the groundwork for a potentially volatile situation. I'll ask Commander Holmes come up and talk about what's the best way to interact with an officer to keep you safe and keep them safe. Commander Holmes.
Thank you, appreciate it. The best way to keep yourself safe and to keep the officers safe is to not, if you feel that something's going wrong, there's avenues for you to address those grievances. Not at the time of the interaction with the officer out on the street. Calling people like me, like Chief McClay, our Internal Affairs Division, Citizens Police Review Board, etc. But when you're out on the street and engaged in their interaction with an officer, just be respectful and abide by what the officer is saying. Again, recognizing that it may not be correct at that time, but there's ways for you to handle it. And I'll give you an example of myself before I became a police officer, and the reason why I became a police officer. Myself and a good friend of mine, Brian Roberts, we both from the Penn Hills, graduated from Penn Hills High School together. We were working at Three Rivers Stadium, the old Three Rivers Stadium. We were driving from our home in Penn Hills down Route 28 on our way to Three Rivers Stadium. We were pulled over by one of the borough police officers on Route 28, said we were speeding. So I'm the passenger in the car. Brian Roberts is the front seat driver of the vehicle. I look over and I see how he has the steering wheel gripped and he's shaking. And so I can only see him. So I turn a little bit more and I see the barrel of a gun pointing at his head by the suburban police officer. And, Brian's standing there, his voice is trembling, the officer is saying to him, I need to see your driver's license, your registration, your insurance card, those three things that we always ask for. Well, Brian, being, very low-key, good person, said, officer, my driver's license is in my back left pocket, my owner's card and insurance is in the glove box. Didn't make any further movements or those quick movements towards those areas, right? And the officer said, no problem, go ahead and reach for them. So I have my hands on the dashboard, because I see him shaking, I have my hands on the dashboard, and I saw what I saw in terms of the weapon. So anyway, we go through the traffic stop, everything, the license is good, owner's card, it was actually his mom's car, everything was good. And the officer said, you know what, this is in the early 1990s. You know what, it'd probably be better for you, you two gangbangers, to stay on that side of the river and don't drive on this side of the river. And so thinking to ourselves as we drove on down 28 towards through the stadium, I said, you know what, this was a nightmare. And my parents raised myself, and I know Brian's parents raised him, to respect our elders, to respect law enforcement, and to always obey what they're doing out at that time, because you won't win. You won't win. So we did that. And then, of course, we went back home and told our parents, and they contacted the Suburban Police Department. We filed a formal complaint, etc. But I thought to myself at that time, I think I'm going to become a police officer, because I have to fix what just happened to me. And lo and behold, you see me now in 2014 as a police officer for the city of Pittsburgh, and Brian's also a police officer for the city of Pittsburgh. So this was our way of trying to get those checks and balances out there by joining, like Chief McClay just told you, by joining the ranks and then trying to make a difference. So again, I appreciate you guys having us here today on Saturday to talk to you. Certainly something that we enjoy doing and like doing, and we're going to do more of. So thank you.
And before we wrap it up, there's one phrase I want everybody in this room to remember. Okay, one phrase. Think about it, remember it, practice it, so under stress you can still perform it. Officer, I'm trying to be respectful. Please tell me what it is you would like for me to do. Okay? Officer, I'm trying to cooperate. I'm trying to be respectful. Please tell me what it is you would like me to do. Okay? I am going to make sure that my officers are trained to listen for that particular phrase. Because again, when stress levels are up there, sometimes human beings, whether they're police officers or young people, act inappropriately. And so I want to plant the seed that when they hear that phrase, that will remind them that they may be getting out of control. Because my officers are human beings too, and human beings make mistakes. So please, anytime you feel a situation escalating, and you feel the officer is the one escalating it, officer, please, I'm trying to be respectful. What is it you'd like me to do? That's what the cops are going to be trained to listen for. So again, thank you. Thank you for being here, and please give us some consideration. I'd love to see some of you join us.
We now have President of Noble, Dave Johnson. Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback off the chief and the commander as well, but I want to tell you a little bit about my background and a little bit about Noble. I come from federal law enforcement, not local. Noble, the acronym stands for National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. That means that minorities and women who are in all phases of law enforcement, the executive, the decision makers, are part of Noble. Now, we have an associate membership that you don't necessarily have to be a captain or above in any one of your agencies, but we are looking for associate memberships, and we plan in the future to start a collegiate chapter here as well that will work with Pitt, Duquesne Community College, and we'll have one, we would like to have one local collegiate chapter. What we are doing is, and what our emphasis is going to be, is to help the chief in recruitment. I guess my short message to you today is there is a problem. There's a problem in our communities, not only in our communities, but in everybody's community. We lost an FBI agent not in Homewood, not on the north side, but in Fox Chapel. So this violence and the school shootings are not only in poor areas, they're in all areas. To be part of the solution, Noble's emphasis is on recruitment. If you want to see change in your neighborhood, then your neighbors, your partners, your sisters, brothers, and your moms and dads need to see faces that look like you. So in order to do that, you need to prepare yourself for a life in law enforcement. Not only on the local side, state and federal law enforcement, FBI, Secret Service. Those are all agencies that are looking to recruit people that look like us. As far as the rest goes, I want to make this short statement and then I'm going to sit down. When you are pulled over, I want to piggyback off the chief's statement and off the commander's statement as well. When a flashing light goes on in back of me, I also, my heart starts racing because I'm trying to figure out what is it that I've done. I want to be safe, and even though I know that I was a law enforcement, federal law enforcement, I want to get home. First and foremost for you is not trying to show your partners that that you're a man. Your first thought should be, I want to get home, I want to be safe in order to make that complaint that Commander Holmes talked about. So when you are pulled over, hands on the dashboard, I love this statement the chief just told you. If you do what you need to do to be safe, and I want you to treat that officer as if it were your uncle, your dad, or a family member. You want them to come home safe when they leave with that uniform on. You want them to come home safely. You want the people that they pulled over to treat them with respect. So do as you want done. Make sure that you're safe, and in your mind, you want him to be safe as well. If you have that mindset, you'll make it home, and that's all we're looking for. For those of you who are interested in the collegiate or any information as far as Noble goes, I will be around for the rest of the conference, and my name is Ted Johnson. Thank you.
Okay, please heed those words. I think we understand what's going on, and I thank the chief and the commander and the president of Noble for those words and for their participation.